Hey, good morning. I have like this weird kind of shadow under there. I don't know what that's all about. Good morning. It is a Wellness Wednesday. It's Dr. Hammerset from Holist as usual. Today I have Dr. Errin Weismann. She is a life coach and family medicine physician who has also worked in the emergency department, similar to me in emergency medicine. She's from truthrx.com and she is all about empowering, supporting, and motivating others in professional and personal struggles. She is a full-time life coach at this point, having jumped out of clinical medicine after her own professional burnout story, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And we all need to hear this. This is not just for physicians, it is for everyone who is struggling with everything that we feel kind of on an ongoing basis with, there we go. Hi, Errin, I'm bringing you on. With our issues in terms of personal and professional kind of moral injury. And she's going to talk about that for us. Hi.
Hey,
Welcome. Hey, we are in the library, huh?
we are hanging in the library today. Let me get this set up a little bit better.
Good. So while she's getting set up a little bit, I'll just remind you here at Holist, did you know that you can prevent about 80% of disease with lifestyle changes, and that 70% of visits to the primary care doctor is associated with stress and lifestyle issues? And so here at Holist, we do virtual lifestyle medicine consults. So that's like telehealth, FaceTime for health. And we also have 12-week coaching programs on weight and food and mindset. And welcome, Dr. Weissman.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be with you guys here today.
So talk to us a little bit about kind of your story and your why about what you're doing.
All right. Well, I am family medicine boarded. I went into medicine because I wanted to help people. And so went into training, got trained, and then along the way, I was probably already burned out in residency and just did not have enough self-awareness to recognize that because it was just status quo. Everybody was kind of the same way. So when I got out into private practice, a couple months in, I was thinking, is this it? Is this all this is? And I go back to the story time and time again when I was talking to one of my administrators, and his comment was, Dr. Weismann, we just hope that you're happy and flourishing here for the next 30 years of your career. And I wanted to vomit and curl up in the fetal position on the floor because the thought of doing what I was doing, which was not healing like I thought I was going to be, which was not what I wanted, and why I had spent so much time, effort, money, sweat, blood, tears. And I felt really, really stuck. Yeah, I felt super
And I
stuck.
think that this is really something that is applicable to a lot of people. I mean, obviously, our path to medicine is unique in the fact that it takes forever and a lot of effort and a lot of time. But there are a lot of people who feel this in various professions, not just in
Absolutely.
medicine.
Yeah.
So talk to
And
us
I
a little
think
bit
it's our,
about what you think about like what like we could talk forever about physician burnout, but like when you talk
right.
about like burnout, like what is
hmm
your perspective on what that actually is professionally?
I think professionally, what like the core burnout is, it's so much deeper than just depression. It's so much deeper than just workplace stress because, as physicians, we have been in the like midst huge amount of stress and we handle it and we're fine. But where
We're like the
burnout
most
happens,
resilient people. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, we don't need more resilience in our life.
Yeah.
We are resilient. But why and where burnout happens is when you have your passion, your calling, that inner soul that you are meant and put on this earth to do, but in your job you cannot do it. You cannot heal people. You cannot help people because there are so many barriers or something going along. Maybe you don't have you're not in the right position. But where burnout happens is when you keep gravitating in that, when you keep wanting to help people, but then you feel like you have both hands tied behind your back. And then more is piled on. And so actually there's some more theories coming out on burnout that we're calling it actually a moral injury, that it's going beyond just the psychological and the mental, but it's actually getting into the spiritual realm. And I can honestly say in the midst of my burnout, I felt broken in my soul. I felt fractured all the way down to my core. And I really resonate with this new theory that's coming out because I think so many other professionals too, be it that you go into social work or teaching or anything that is the healing, helping. I mean, even sales, like you sell your products because you want to help other people. But when you are inhibited from living out your purpose, that you got to keep trudging forward, you got to keep getting that paycheck, you got to keep showing up, that's when that fracturing happens.
Yeah. I think in medicine, particularly in the last, 10 years of my career, I've just seen so many of those barriers being like layers between the patient and the physician,
Hmm.
of,
Yeah.
whether it's electronic record or whether it's the scribe or whether it's the administrator, or if it's the insurance company or it's, the legislation. There's like just so much built in there that keeps us from that healing relationship that I think is really a big problem.
Absolutely. It's one of those points that why I'm so passionate is I feel like I need to help my physician colleagues become healthier so that we all as a collective can peel back those layers. Because right now we're struggling in healthcare. We really are. And if we ourselves cannot be healthy, how are we going to change the way? How are we going to make healthcare better? Because it just can't happen because we're giving everything that we have to give until you just run out of gas and you're done. And I see
Yeah.
so many physicians who choose to leave healthcare because they are spent. Their fire is gone. Now, I can honestly say that I love medicine. I do. I've recovered from burnout. It took me years and a whole lot of life coaching and becoming a life coach myself. But I can honestly say that I love medicine. But right now, for me, clinical medicine is not sustainable where it is in my area. So that's why I'm kind of doing my own thing, being creative, working with other people who are thinking outside the box to say, okay, let's make it sustainable for everybody. Because that's what it needs to be. Instead of eating our young in education, instead of just going through nurses, recycling them in and out through the door because they're getting chewed up by doctors, it's time to change it. Because honestly,
Yeah.
that's what our public wants. They
Yeah.
want real, they want authenticity. They want doctors who are healthy themselves so that they can talk their talk and say, this is how I did it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, no one can drink from your cup if your cup is empty, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think what the things that you and some of the other physician coaches are doing is really essential. And it's one of those things like the reason why I think it's so important for everyone to know about this, not just physicians, is just that, right? Like right now, patients in our communities know that the healthcare system is broken and the physicians know that the healthcare system is broken, but we don't all think it is for the same reason. And so I think the
Mm-hmm.
more open and honest conversations we can have about this, and having, people like you who have the expertise to be able to add to that. I mean, I think that coaching is such an essential thing. Obviously with the holistic coaching programs, we have weight coaches, we have mindset
Mm-hmm.
coaches. And the reason why is because that mindset around whether it's lifestyle behavioral changes of food and exercise and stress management and sleep, or
Mm-hmm.
whether it's professional issues, right? That mindset
Mm-hmm.
is just so key. And when you're in the
It's
midst of
huge.
that, whether it's emotional or physical dis-ease, right? It's hard to see where that mindset needs to be, or what the choices are that we can be making, or the thoughts that we can reframe or rewire. And we
Mm-hmm.
often need someone from the outside to point that out.
Yeah, because we get so entrenched in our thought patterns that that's the norm, that's the
Yeah.
norm, that's the norm, that when you work with a coach, that's really what happens is that you kind of get knocked off your track a little bit and say, what else? Or
Yeah.
why? Why do you think that you need to have a snack before bedtime?
Yeah.
Because you don't, but what is
Yeah.
behind that? And when you start like digging into that, and why I absolutely love coaching for that reason, it's like the curtains open up and you're like, oh my gosh, like I have been living in these thought patterns and patterning my life around this, when
Yeah.
in actuality, it's a false belief that I sat on
Yeah.
myself. I know, I'll share one confession time. So one that I felt like that I lived on, and why I continued to practice in that practice that was not sustainable for me, was because of the thought belief, if I leave here, I'm a failure.
Yeah.
And it took coaching to be like, you graduated medical school, you made it through residency, and you had two babies at the time. You get up every morning and get three kids ready. You're running a side business. That is far from failure. But
Yeah.
that was the script that I had to have changed with life coaching that kind of just had to snap. And I think, honestly, this is why I think everybody needs a coach. Don't get me wrong. I think everybody needs somebody to help them with their
Yeah.
mindset. But I think the more entrenched that you get in education and the further you get into your career, it's harder to snap those thoughts
Yeah.
because you've been walking that path for so long. And that's the same thing with disease management. I mean, if you've been dealing with diabetes or you've been dealing with your weight or all of these issues, it's not going to happen overnight. But you keep trudging forward, you keep reapproaching it, and it is amazing when you get to the bottom of some of these root thoughts, your world will absolutely open up and be just a totally, even in the same setting, even in the same restaurant that you walk into, once your thoughts change, your world changes.
Yeah. So what I like to talk to my patients and clients about is that we have about 60,000 thoughts per day.
Mm-hmm.
And if we had to like recognize and act on all of those thoughts, we wouldn't be able to get anything done, right? And
Right.
so our brain has come up with patterns so that when it gets a sensation from you, from your body, or from your external environment, it can react without you having to do anything about it. And it does
Mm-hmm.
that because it needs to simplify things so that we can do things. We don't just lay there on the couch, right? So we can get up and walk and drive and work and interact and love and all those things. But it means that it is creating those reactions based on your past experiences, right? And what has worked for you in the
Mm-hmm.
past. And sometimes those past experiences are no longer serving you, right?
No.
And so, and
Right.
you act, that's why it takes work like this and to have someone to help you to actually break those automatic, subconscious reactions and reframe to get to where you want to go. And that can be something like you're saying, like a habit around what and why and when you're eating, or your exercise or your sleep management or stress
Mm-hmm.
management. Really, really important in terms of like stress and cognitive rewiring. And professionally, it's the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, if you are just reacting the same way over and over again, right, like history
You
repeats
get the
itself.
same results.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. And that's the other thing that I really want to challenge all of our viewers today is that you determine your future. Life is not happening to you. You
Yeah.
really are determining your future. And if you're like, "Oh, that's a bunch of bullshit." Let me tell you, when you change your thoughts, when you take a hold of saying, "No, no more," it really, really does. You become from a reactive being to being proactive,
Yeah.
and like I said, everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs to get in with Holist because I truly believe that this is an amazing program. I've seen you develop this over the last couple of months because I think we started hanging out online together a little
In the
less than a
spring.
year ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
and just seeing the progression of this and me having my physician background, I fully support this because it's not woo-woo science shit. This is evidence-based medicine with the
Yeah.
practice of coaching, with the integration of alternative medicine. So I'm a DO. I don't know if you mentioned that as well. So I love CAM, complementary
Yeah.
alternative
Yeah.
medicines. And I think there is something behind that. And so if any of these viewers are listening today and like been contemplating it or hanging out with you on Holist, you need to jump. It is time because as you sit in inaction, that is actually a decision. You are
Yeah.
deciding not to act.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
that's why I encourage everybody to say, it is time and take a hold of it. Now, the
Yeah.
changes aren't going to happen next week. It's not going to be next month. You got to be in for the long-term game. But I guarantee anyone who works with a coach, if you are invested in the long-term game, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, we rocked that shit out
Yeah.
because your life will be different. Because I
Yeah. That's
personally am
awesome.
an example of that. I'm an example of my life. I am now living the life that I love instead
Yeah.
of loathing, instead of Sunday dreads where I'm just crying in my bed because I know I have to get up on Monday morning and do it all over again. And it wasn't about my patients. I'll be honest, that's where I found some of my most delights. it was with the system, but it was also with my thoughts revolving around that.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I don't think that I've ever really been fully through like into a burnout situation, but I guess what I can think about in terms of where I was a couple of years ago versus now, I work in emergency medicine. I was medical director at our regional center. I was really struggling with the administrative hurdles, and and we had some legislative stuff happening in the state, and I was feeling really, and like contracting with insurance companies, I was feeling like just heartache over the loss of our healthcare system. And I was angry a lot of the time. And that's kind of where Holist came out of, right? Was realizing there's got to be a better way that we can work together as providers to know each other, right? The alternative practitioners and the conventional physicians, even physicians to physicians, knowing each other, so we get out of our goddamn silos and actually know what else we have to offer. And the more that we stand together and provide those services together to amplify the results of our patients, the better everybody's going to be. And I certainly also feel, while I am working 2 full-time jobs and it's not ideal, I am feeling a lot more full and a lot happier than I was a few years ago. So
because
talk
you're
to us a
leaning
little bit
into your
about
passion.
Yeah, exactly. So talk to us a little bit about your Women in the Wild retreats and your Dr. Me First coaching. And then I'll talk a little bit about our Holist options, and then we'll round up for the day.
Awesome. So I'm pretty sure I missed my calling in life. I should have been an event planner because I love this shit. Let me tell you. So I am an outdoors woman here in Indiana. I grew up outdoors. I kind of lost that through medical education. And that was one of my things that I felt like brought a lot back into my life when I just started getting outdoors again. My husband farms, so I mean, we were kind of outdoors already. But I decided so I trail run, and I was on trail running with my best friends. And I was like, you know what? Other women need this. They need to get outdoors. They need that like sisterhood to just like talk through stuff. And so I said, let's do it. So we worked with a local Indiana DNR property, and in September we had just a 24-hour. We just overnighted it. And we did outdoor yoga, we did hiking. I brought in some personal development with coaching. We taught them how to start fires from flint. And our river was flooded out, so we didn't get to kayak the river, but we did some local little stripper pits, which are like lakes here in Indiana. And it was phenomenal. It was amazing, the connections. And so got another one coming up in May because they loved it so much. They're like, no, we're not waiting a year. And I just booked it actually yesterday. So it's May 17th through the 19th
it's so
here in
true.
Indiana.
So I live in Idaho, and we are a very green and mountainous state. And that's why we moved here. We raft and whitewater raft and kayak and backcountry ski and all sorts of stuff. And there is something about the way that your brain changes when you are outside. It's like stripping out all of the other bullshit, and you can like really get to, even in just your own mind when you're out on a hike or on a trail run, is like you really can get down into some of that, your core thoughts, right?
It's like pairing movement with nature. There's actually some studies that our psychology colleagues have done that have actually shown if you can get outside during the daytime for an hour a week, it can improve your well-being scores dramatically. And so that's what I work with people. I'm like, well, what are you doing outside? Well, I don't go outside. Well, you need to go outside. Just do something. If it's a walk, if it's a sit, if you live next to the ocean, just go and experience the outdoors. Because as I was talking to my 7-year-old, I'm like, life is around you. It is not on your phone. It's not on a tablet. It is around you. It is time to experience it. And so there's actually some studies coming out saying that nature is super important. And so the Dr. Me First program, what that's all about is I am a workbook junkie. So as an elementary student, I loved making worksheets, and I still love making worksheets. So what I did at the beginning of the year is I created a workbook. I was like, what did I need when I was at my wit's end and I was stuck and I didn't know what to do? I'm like, I needed a workbook. So I created it. I made it. I took all the coaching approaches that I had learned through training and I doctorized them. Some of them still a little woo-woo. Some of them are a lot of fun. One of them that I do is called the mindful CT scan because I am terrible at body scans. But if I can visualize myself sitting on a CT gantry and like going through and getting
Oh yeah,
scanned,
I love
then
that.
that makes it. So that's one of the
Yeah.
exercises in my workbook that I teach you is the mindful CT scan. And so there's a lot of things like that. And then from that, I was so driven because I think connection is the next big step that we need to reversing this problem. So I made a VIP group, and that's where I get a group of about 8 to 10 women together, and we work through the workbook, but we also work through our own shit in a group
Yeah.
setting online. And so I've done one session of that. I'm getting ready to start another session in February. And that has been just amazing. So there's the Dr. Me First Facebook group that you can jump on with that.
Awesome.
I work with one-on-one clients the same way, helping them to go from just surviving to thriving in life. And
Yeah.
then and then the next big project is the Dr. Me First podcast. It comes out in December, and I am so excited
Awesome.
about it. And it's where I have conversations just like this with other female physicians, and we just talk it out, and we just
Yeah.
put out whatever we want to say. Dr. Hammerstedt has actually been on there. She'll be episode number 2 for everybody
Yay.
listening. And I make everybody pick a word that our conversation is framed around. And do you remember what our word was together? It was
Oh,
layers,
I
just
don't
like we're
know.
talking about today. Yeah, it was
Awesome. What
layers
was it?
about
Say it again.
everything that gets between us.
Layers. Oh, that's right.
Layers.
Totally peeling back the layers.
Yeah,
Hey, at least we're consistent.
peeling back the layers. We are. We are. So it's been a lot of fun. It's definitely a passion project. And I don't work with just doctors. I work with any professional women who are interesting and seriously changing their life because it does work.
And
It
you're
does.
available for anybody all across the country, so not limited by location, which
Hmm.
is really a huge bonus for those of us who are providing these services.
Yeah.
And then a little bit about Holist for people who are just joining. So I'm offering lifestyle medicine, telemedicine visits. So that's meeting like this, having a conversation
Hmm.
for about 75 to 90 minutes about your entire life in terms of lifestyle issues, weight, food, exercise, sleep, stress management, mindfulness, and coming up with a 3-month plan that can be revisited, every few months. And so it is a huge value to be able to sit down with the physician for that much time and figure out what the steps are that you need to do. You'll get a physical plan kind of touched out for you, assessments and action plans, all based on evidence out of lifestyle medicine. And then additionally, we have a 12-week weight wellness program where you get digitally delivered to you every day a podcast from me, 15 to 20 minutes on weight science and on mindset around food and around cognitively rewiring those changes. So every day you get a digital delivery of that. You get documents that go with that. You get text message support, and you have a personal coach. I have 5 weight coaches that work for me, dietitians, doctors, and nurses who are amazing. They've all been through the program. And then additionally, we have 3 mindset coaches a hypnotherapist, a life coach, and a meditation guide to add onto your program. So really high yield, really great results that people are totally changing the way they sleep, the way they feel, the way they look. And most importantly, just kind of settling into better behavioral changes. So it's been really great for people who wanted to lose weight. But additionally, I've had athletes come in who've totally changed their approach and their endurance to their sport based on changing things with the way that they eat and how they approach it. So I have a women's program
Absolutely.
coming up and a fitness program and a medical professionals program to learn how to integrate lifestyle medicine into current practices that are all going to be coming up in the next few months. So we're busy over here.
Whoop, whoop. That's how life needs to be. Keep it moving,
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah, totally. So we can find you on truthrx.com. You also have
Hmm.
a mastermind course for female physicians right now. You
Hmm.
have your Women in the Wild retreats and the Dr. Me First coaching, but also coaching for other types of professionals. So please drop in the comments links to all of these things so that our viewers can find you. And it was, as always, really great to talk to you and to see you. And thanks for
Absolutely.
joining Holist on our Wellness Wednesday.
Absolutely. Everybody keep well.
Yeah, take care. Bye.